Hello, Mob Associates. Johnny Chechitelli here, coming to you live from downtown Crime Town, USA, Youngstown, Ohio. A couple things I want to talk to you about today. First off, Crooked City. If you're not listening, you're missing the boat, guys. You gotta listen to our podcast, Crooked City, Youngstown, Ohio. I was honored to help produce that show alongside Mark Smerling and his team at Truth Media. We did a hell of a job, guys. You got to listen to it. It's educational, it's historical, entertaining, all of the above. We really tried to capture the essence of the corruption, the crime in Youngstown during my lifetime, my era, and I think we did. So we're up to episode 9. If you're listening weekly, it premieres every Monday with commercials for free on any of the platforms that you get podcasts on. Now, if you're like me and you're like some other folks who can't wait every week to listen to this kind of stuff, you want to tune in and you can binge everything with a subscription service through Sony Media called The Binge. I think it's like $5 a month. So check it out, guys. Either way, every Monday, new episodes launch on all the other platforms for free. Otherwise, you can listen to all 15 episodes at once. But we are up to episode 9 for the weekly listeners. This episode, guys, put a lot of hard work into. We hear from a few different voices, one of them being Mark Batcho. Mark is currently serving time. He is in Trumbull County Correctional Institute. That's where I actually went to go visit him several occasions and interview him for this show. Myself and I brought another producer with me, Catherine Sullivan from Truth Media. She's in those interviews as well. We sat with Mark for hours. I've talked to him many times on the phone, through email, and we went down and we sat down and interviewed him in person a few times. Mark, in this episode, walks us through a murder that he committed. His first murder, a gentleman by the name of Larry Sisman, a.k.a. the King of Sleaze, a.k.a. the Tomato Man. If you want to know how he got linked up in the mob, and he was a co-owner of the Palace and the Pines strip club, famous mob strip club here in Youngstown. If you want to know how Larry Sisman got linked up with those guys, you got to tune in to episode 9. It's a great episode. Mark really breaks it down. Walks you through that actual murder. It's to sit there with him in that prison and look him in the eye as he's reliving these moments. It's a different experience, guys. It really is. We weren't allowed to bring cameras in. We were only allowed to bring audio equipment in. So that's, you're listening to the raw audio there. And it really is raw. And Mark gets emotional as he talks about a lot of things, this being one of them. And, really is a dark moment for Mark, and it's a dark moment in Youngstown's history, and it's an evolution of Mark as a hitman, actually, for the mob. And you'll learn the actual motivations behind that killing in this episode. It's episode 9. It's called Pull the Trigger and You're In. It's, again, Crooked City Podcast. I helped produce that. We spent over a year talking to folks, interviewing multiple dozens of interview subjects. Unfortunately, not everybody made it in the show. Actually, not most of them made it in the show. So, if you're listening and we did interview you, I'm sure you understand. I'm sure you're able to tell, okay, why your interview wasn't included, or why it just ended up on the cutting room floor. And sometimes that happens, guys, in movie making, in podcast making. You have to cut out a lot of stuff. So we had hours and hours and hours and hours and hours of content. That's not even to mention the archival content that we dug through. I personally dug through decades of archival news footage through WITV and WKBN. Really a lot of work went into the show. We hope you enjoy it. We hope you're listening. We hope you're liking it. You're subscribing to it. You're sharing it. You leave a review. That's another thing you can do for us on the Crooked City podcast. If you leave a review, it really helps other people find the show. with the algorithms that like Apple Podcasts or Spotify or any of these services where you get your podcast from, they all have their own algorithms. So if the more reviews, the more good things, good words you can say about it. If you enjoy the show, guys, please do that. It's an easy way to help us out. We hope you really enjoy this stuff. We had a lot of hard work making this. It was, over a year we spent doing it. If you go back to episode 8, the prior episode, that's actually one of my favorite episodes. You really hear from guys like RDC from Briar Hill, who never worked and never will, taking over United Music vending company after Joey Naples was killed. And episode 8, 9, and 10 are all kind of together. It's a continuation of like the B story in Crooked City. So can't wait for you guys to hear next week's episode. Episode 10 comes out. That's called The One-Way Street. And for those of you who know, you know what it's going to be about when we say The One-Way Street. So tune in next week. Again, new episodes launch every Monday, or you can binge it all at once. Another thing I want to talk to you guys about was the Youngstown Mob group. If you're watching this on YouTube, we have a Youngstown Mob group on Facebook. It's up to over 24,000 people, might even be higher by the time you're watching this. 24,000 members that are active, that are sharing posts, that are liking posts, commenting, asking questions, all kinds of folks tied to this area, whether they moved away or they just had family here or they grew up here like myself and are here now. Everyone is kind of fascinated by this town's history. Obviously, that's why Crooked City is a success. But the Youngstown Mob group allows everyone to kind of have a voice. So please join the Youngstown Mob group if you're watching this on Facebook. Find us, facebook.com/groups/Youngstown Mob, or just search Youngstown Mob. You'll find it right away. There's so many cool things in there. We try to highlight one post of the week or cool thing that we see posted out there. This one today, I'm gonna focus on a guy named Daryl LaRoque, and I really hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. But Daryl posted on our group that he was researching Italian heritage and genealogies, and if you had any questions about your own heritage, reach out to him. So I did. I said, okay, let's see how good he is. And I'm lucky enough that I know my great-grandfather's name, the original spellings, have his passport from when he came to this country in the early 20th century. And, I had a little bit for him to go off of. So he was actually able very fast, very quick, he was able to find the ship that my great-grandfather came over on, as well as my great-grandmother later, where they met, where they got married, the village they were from in Italy. He gave me documents that were, he gave me my great-grandfather, Francesco Chechitelli's petition for U.S. citizenship. And it was pretty cool. I mean, I got to see on there where my great-grandfather was convicted of a crime in 1923, nearly 100 years ago, violating the National Prohibition Act in West Virginia. He was, I'm sure, bootlegging that Dago red wine. I've always heard stories about my great-grandparents making the wine. So it's pretty cool to see that in a document, though. I mean, it's unbelievable what Daryl was able to pull up and how fast he was able to pull it up. So if you guys have any questions about your own heritage or genealogy, check him out on Youngstown Mob Facebook group, guys. He's a great resource. And there's so many people like him in our group that are sharing things. We'll point out more as we do more of these mob talks. Every week we'll kind of do a post of the week. So today's is Daryl LaRoque. Last thing I want to talk about, guys, before I let you go, there are some other true crime podcasts out there. I told you earlier at the top of the show, I'm working on more myself, the amazing podcast company here in downtown Youngstown. We're actually producing several more shows right now. But before those come out, there's actually one that I'm a big fan of that I just kind of want to give a shout out to real quick. It's called Gangland Wire. It's hosted by a guy named Gary Jenkins, who was a former police officer in the intelligence division in Kansas City for many years. He ended up becoming a lawyer, filmmaker, an author. Gary hosts this podcast, and it's kind of the OG of the mob podcasts. He's had it around for years now. I've listened to it. He calls his fans wiretappers, and Gary's got a nice, distinct Kansas City accent. So check out his show, guys. It's pretty cool. Actually, they're finally going to be focused on Youngstown coming up, I believe at the end of September. Gary interviews me for his show, and we talk all about Youngstown for an hour straight, and then we actually did 2 episodes. So check that out, guys. Gangland Wire. Gary's a member of the group, the Youngstown Mob group. So tell him you love his stuff, tell him what you like, and share some information. But he's a very cool guy. He was a very gracious host, and like I said, I was a fan of his already. So that episode 1 should air, I believe he said, at the end of September. So we'll keep you posted on that, where you can listen to it and find it. So that's it for now, guys. Until next time, Johnny Chechitelli, a.k.a. Johnny Consiglietti, coming to you live, downtown Crimetown, USA. See you later.